evening sun painted the sky orange and pink as Marcus Wellington stepped out of his black luxury car. The driver quickly opened the door for him, and Marcus walked toward the entrance of the Grandview Hotel without saying thank you. He wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than what most people earned in 3 months. His leather shoes clicked on the marble floor as he entered the lobby. Marcus was 32 years old and very rich. He had inherited millions of dollars from his father, who died 2 years ago. Along with the money, he seemed to have inherited his father's attitude too. Marcus believed that money made him better than other people. He walked through life thinking everyone should bow to him just because his bank account had more zeros than theirs. The Grandview Hotel was one of the finest hotels in the city. Everything in the lobby sparkled and shined. The floors were made of white marble with gold patterns running through them. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, throwing rainbow colors across the walls when the light hit them just right. Expensive paintings decorated the walls, and fresh flowers filled large vases on every table. Marcus visited this hotel often. His family's investment company owned part of the hotel chain, so he felt like he owned the place. He would walk in and expect everyone to recognize him and treat him like royalty. Most of the staff knew him by name and knew to be extra careful around him because he loved to complain about small things. As Marcus walked through the lobby, he noticed a beautiful grand piano sitting in the corner. It was a Steinway, black and polished until it gleamed like a mirror. The piano sat on a raised platform with velvet ropes around it. It looked expensive and important, but Marcus had never seen anyone actually play it. To him, it was just another decoration, another way for the hotel to show off. Behind the concierge desk stood Elena Rodriguez. She was 28 years old with dark brown hair that she always kept pulled back in a neat bun while she worked. Her brown eyes were warm and kind, and she had a gentle smile that made guests feel welcome. She wore the hotel uniform perfectly, a navy blue jacket with gold buttons, a white shirt and a name tag that said Elena Rodriguez, evening concierge. Elena had been working at the Grandview Hotel for 18 months. Every evening, she stood behind that desk helping guests with whatever they needed. She made restaurant reservations, called taxis, gave directions to tourist spots, arranged tours, and solved problems. She was good at her job because she truly cared about making people happy. But Elena had not always worked in hotels. She had a secret past that nobody at the Grandview knew about. Before she came to this city, before she wore this uniform, Elena had been a serious piano student. She had spent 12 years studying music at a famous conservatory in her home country. Piano was not just something she enjoyed. It was her whole life, her passion, her dream. Elena came from a simple family. Her father worked in a factory, and her mother cleaned houses to make extra money. They were not rich, but they loved their daughter and supported her dream of becoming a concert pianist. When Elena won a scholarship to the conservatory, her whole family celebrated. It felt like all their sacrifices had been worth it. For years, Elena practiced piano 6 to 8 hours every day. Her fingers flew across the keys, playing complicated pieces by famous composers like Chopin, Beethoven, and Rachmaninoff. Her teachers said she had real talent, that she could have a future performing in concert halls around the world. Elena believed them. She dreamed of playing in famous venues, of hearing audiences applaud, of making a living doing what she loved most. But life had other plans for Elena. During her final year at the conservatory, her father became very sick. He needed expensive medical treatments that the family could not afford. The bills piled up quickly. Her mother worked extra hours, but it was not enough. The family went into debt, borrowing money from relatives and taking loans from the bank. Elena faced an impossible choice. She could continue her studies and chase her dream while her family struggled, or she could leave the conservatory and find work to help them. The scholarship covered her tuition, but it did not help with her family's medical bills. She lay awake many nights crying quietly, trying to decide what to do. In the end, Elena chose her family. She left the conservatory 3 months before graduation. She packed her few belongings, said goodbye to her teachers and friends, and moved to this city where she heard there were better job opportunities. She found work at the Grandview Hotel, and she sent most of her paycheck home every month to help with her father's medical bills and her family's living expenses. Nobody at the hotel knew about her musical background. When people asked about her past, Elena simply said she came from another country looking for work. She did not talk about the conservatory or her dreams of being a concert pianist. That part of her life felt too painful to share. She had locked that dream away in a corner of her heart, where it could not hurt so much. Now, on this particular evening, Elena was checking some paperwork behind the concierge desk when Marcus Wellington walked past. She looked up and gave him a polite smile, the kind of professional smile she gave to all guests. "Good evening, Mr. Wellington," she said in her soft voice with a slight accent. "I hope you're having a pleasant day." Marcus barely glanced at her. He was looking at his phone, scrolling through messages. He walked past the desk without responding to her greeting. Elena was used to this. Many wealthy guests acted like the staff were invisible. It did not bother her much anymore. She simply went back to her work. But then Marcus stopped walking. He stood in the middle of the lobby, looking around as if he was searching for something to entertain him. His eyes landed on the grand piano in the corner. A strange smile appeared on his face, the kind of smile that meant he had thought of something he found amusing. Marcus turned and walked back toward the concierge desk. His expensive shoes made sharp sounds on the marble floor. Elena looked up again, her professional smile ready. "Yes, Mr. Wellington. How may I help you today?" she asked politely. Marcus leaned against the desk, looking at Elena with an expression that made her uncomfortable. It was not quite a smile, more like a smirk. He seemed to be studying her, trying to figure something out. "That piano over there," Marcus said, pointing toward the corner. "Does anyone actually play that thing, or is it just an expensive decoration?" Elena glanced at the piano, then back at Marcus. "It is maintained for special events, sir. Sometimes we have musicians come in for special occasions. It is a very fine instrument." "Fine instrument," Marcus repeated, his smirk growing wider. "I bet it costs more than you make in a year." Elena felt her cheeks grow warm, but she kept her smile in place. "It is indeed a valuable piece, Mr. Wellington. Is there something specific I can help you with regarding the piano?" Marcus straightened up and looked around the lobby. A few other guests were sitting in the comfortable chairs, reading newspapers or working on laptops. Some people were checking in at the front desk. Marcus seemed to enjoy having an audience. "I have an idea," Marcus said loudly, making sure other people could hear him. "You work here every day walking past that piano. I bet you have never played a single note in your life." Elena felt her stomach tighten. She had dealt with difficult guests before, but something about Marcus's tone made this feel different. It felt more personal, more mean. "I am not hired to play piano, Mr. Wellington. I am the concierge. My job is to help guests with their needs," Elena said, keeping her voice calm and professional. Right, Marcus said, waving his hand dismissively. "But I'm making you an interesting offer. I want to see if you can play that piano." "Sir, I really should not. The piano is for special occasions and I'm working right now," Elena replied. Marcus laughed, but it was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone who thought he was very clever. "Oh, come on. Where's your sense of fun? Tell you what, I will make you a deal. A bet, if you like?" Elena did not want to hear what Marcus was about to say, but she had no choice. He was a guest and she had to be polite. "What kind of bet, Mr. Wellington?" Marcus raised his voice even more, making sure everyone in the lobby could hear him clearly. "If you can play that piano properly, if you can actually play a real song and not just hit random keys, I will marry you right here and now." The lobby became very quiet. Other guests stopped what they were doing and looked toward the concierge desk. The people checking in at the front desk turned around. Even the bellboy carrying luggage stopped to listen. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Elena felt her face burning with embarrassment. Her hands gripped the edge of the desk. She wanted to tell Marcus that he was being rude and cruel. She wanted to tell him that his money did not give him the right to mock people. But she needed this job. She needed to send money home to her family. "Mr. Wellington, I do not think that is an appropriate joke," Elena said quietly, trying to maintain her dignity. "Who said I am joking?" Marcus said with a big grin on his face. "I am completely serious. If you can play that piano, I will marry you. But we both know you cannot, right?" "You probably do not know the difference between a piano and a doorbell." Some of the guests watching seemed uncomfortable. A few people frowned, clearly not approving of how Marcus was treating the hotel employee. But others seemed amused, waiting to see what would happen, treating the whole thing like entertainment. Elena stood behind her desk, her mind racing. She had several choices. She could walk away with dignity and let Marcus have his cruel joke. She could call the hotel manager and complain about a guest harassing her. She could simply ignore him and go back to her work. But as she looked at Marcus's smug face, something inside Elena changed. She thought about all those years at the conservatory, all those hours of practice, all those dreams she had given up. She thought about her father lying sick at home, about her mother working 2 jobs, about all the sacrifices her family had made. She thought about how she sent most of her money home every month and lived in a tiny apartment, eating simple meals, saving every penny. And she thought about how this rich man, who had never struggled for anything in his life, felt he could mock her just for fun. Something about that made a quiet anger grow inside her. Not a loud shouting anger, but a cold, determined anger. Elena took a deep breath. She carefully set down the guest registry she had been holding. She smoothed her uniform jacket. Then she looked Marcus straight in the eyes. "Very well, Mr. Wellington," she said in a clear, steady voice. "I accept your challenge." The lobby became even quieter. People leaned forward in their seats. Someone took out their phone to record what was about to happen. Marcus looked surprised for a moment. He had expected Elena to refuse or to walk away embarrassed. He had not expected her to actually agree. "Really?" Marcus said, his smirk wavering slightly. "You are really going to try to play the piano?" "You made an offer, Mr. Wellington. I am accepting it," Elena replied. She walked out from behind the concierge desk with careful, measured steps. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Her hands were shaking slightly, so she clasped them together in front of her. Every eye in the lobby followed her as she walked across the marble floor toward the piano in the corner. The walk felt very long, even though it was only about 30 steps. Elena was aware of everyone watching her. She heard whispers from some of the guests. She saw Marcus standing near the concierge desk with his arms crossed, still wearing that smug expression. When Elena reached the piano, she stopped in front of it. The instrument was beautiful up close. The black surface reflected her image like a dark mirror. She could see the hotel lights reflected in the polished wood. Slowly, carefully, she unhooked the velvet rope and stepped onto the small platform. Elena stood next to the piano bench for a moment. Her hands were trembling. It had been more than a year since she had touched a piano. Since she left the conservatory, she had avoided music completely. It hurt too much to think about what she had given up. But now, standing here, she felt something stirring inside her. It was like meeting an old friend after a long separation. She sat down on the bench and adjusted her position, just like her teachers had taught her. She placed her feet properly on the floor. She straightened her back and relaxed her shoulders. These were movements she had done thousands of times before, and her body remembered them automatically. Elena lifted the keyboard cover, revealing the white and black keys underneath. They were perfectly clean, perfectly maintained. She lifted her hands and held them above the keys, her fingers curved in the proper position. Behind her, she heard Marcus say something to another guest, probably making another joke at her expense. She heard someone laugh, but Elena closed her eyes and blocked out all the sounds around her. She took one more deep breath, and then her fingers touched the keys. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major Opera 9 No. 2 filled the lobby. The sound was pure and clear and beautiful. Elena's fingers moved across the keys with practiced grace, playing the familiar melody that she had performed hundreds of times in her past life. As she played, something magical happened. Elena forgot about the hotel lobby, forgot about the people watching, forgot about Marcus and his cruel bet. She was transported back to the conservatory, back to the practice rooms where she had spent so many happy hours. Her fingers remembered every note, every phrase, every subtle change in dynamics. The music flowed from her like water from a fountain. The melody sang out sweet and sad and beautiful all at once. The Nocturne was a perfect piece for this moment. It started gently, then built to more passionate sections before returning to its peaceful beginning theme. Elena played with her eyes closed, feeling the music rather than thinking about it. Her whole body moved with the phrases. When the music was soft, she leaned closer to the keys. When it grew louder, she sat up straighter. Every emotion she had buried for the past year came pouring out through her fingers. The lobby had gone completely silent except for the piano. People stopped talking mid-sentence. The staff stopped working. Everyone stood or sat perfectly still, listening to the unexpected concert happening before them. Marcus's smirk had disappeared completely. He stood frozen in place, his mouth slightly open. He had expected Elena to sit down and maybe peck out a simple tune with one finger, or to admit she could not play at all. He had never, not even in his wildest imagination, expected this. The music continued, filling every corner of the lobby with its beauty. Some of the listening guests had tears in their eyes. It was not just that Elena was playing the notes correctly. Anyone with enough practice could hit the right keys. But Elena was making the piano sing. She was telling a story with the music, a story of love and loss, of dreams and heartbreak, of beauty that exists even in sadness. As Elena played the final phrases of the nocturne, she opened her eyes. She let her fingers slow down, making each note last a little longer. The music grew softer and softer, like the sun setting slowly over the ocean. Then, with one last gentle chord, it was over. For a moment, there was complete silence in the lobby. Elena lifted her hands from the keys and placed them in her lap. She sat very still, almost afraid to move, afraid to break the spell that the music had created. Then the applause started. It began with one person clapping, then another. Then everyone in the lobby was applauding. Some people stood up from their chairs. A few whistled their appreciation. The sound of applause echoed off the marble walls and high ceiling. Elena stood up from the piano bench slowly. Her legs felt shaky. She turned to face the lobby full of people, and for a moment she felt like she was back at the conservatory, taking a bow after a recital. But this time she was wearing a hotel uniform instead of a concert dress. She stepped down from the platform and walked back toward the concierge desk. The applause continued. Some guests were holding up their phones, having recorded the whole performance. Elena's face was red from embarrassment, but there was also something else in her expression, a mix of emotions that was hard to name. Marcus stood exactly where she had left him, still looking shocked. As Elena approached him, she straightened her uniform jacket and looked at him with calm dignity. "There, Mr. Wellington," she said quietly but clearly. "I believe I have fulfilled your condition." Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He looked like someone had knocked the wind out of him. His confident, mocking attitude had completely disappeared. Marcus Wellington stood in the middle of the hotel lobby, feeling something he had not felt in years. He felt embarrassed. He felt ashamed. But most of all, he felt confused. The woman standing in front of him, the concierge he had just mocked in front of dozens of people, had just played the piano like a professional concert musician. Around them, the hotel guests were still clapping. Some were coming closer, wanting to congratulate Elena on her beautiful performance. Marcus watched as an elderly woman approached Elena with a warm smile. "My dear, that was absolutely wonderful," the old woman said, taking Elena's hand. "I have not heard Chopin played so beautifully in years." "Where did you study?" Elena's smile was polite but sad. "Thank you very much. That is very kind of you to say." The old woman wanted to ask more questions, but Elena excused herself gently. "I apologize, but I really must return to my duties. Please enjoy your stay at the Grandview." Marcus watched Elena walk back behind the concierge desk. She picked up her paperwork as if nothing unusual had just happened. Her hands were steady now, no longer trembling. She looked down at her work, ignoring all the attention she was getting. A businessman in an expensive suit walked up to Marcus and clapped him on the shoulder. "Well, my friend, looks like you need to start planning a wedding." The man laughed at his own joke and walked away. Marcus felt his face turn red. Other guests were looking at him too, some with expressions of disapproval. A young couple whispered to each other while glancing in his direction. Marcus suddenly felt like he was the one being judged, and he did not like the feeling at all. He walked over to the concierge desk where Elena was pretending to be very busy with her work. "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice much quieter than before. Elena looked up at him with a professional expression. "Yes, Mr. Wellington? How may I help you?" "That was... you were..." Marcus struggled to find words. "Where did you learn to play like that? Is there something hotel-related I can assist you with, Mr. Wellington?" Elena asked, avoiding his question. "No, I mean yes, but that is not what I... Look, I need to know. Who are you?" Marcus asked. Elena gave him a small, sad smile. "I am Elena Rodriguez. I am the evening concierge here at the Grandview Hotel. I have been working here for 18 months. My job is to help guests find restaurants, arrange transportation, book tours, and ensure that their stay is comfortable and pleasant. That is who I am. But that was not something you just learned for fun. That was professional level. That was concert hall level, Marcus insisted. Elena's eyes met his for a moment, and Marcus saw something deep and painful in them. That was from another life, Mr. Wellington. A life that ended some time ago. Before Marcus could ask more questions, Elena's phone at the desk rang. She picked it up immediately. Concierge desk, this is Elena speaking. How may I help you? She listened to the caller, making notes on a pad of paper. Of course, I will arrange that right away. Yes, the reservation will be for 7 o'clock. Thank you. She hung up and immediately started working on the computer, making a restaurant reservation for a guest. Marcus stood there unsure what to do. He felt like he should say something, but he did not know what. Finally, he turned and walked toward the elevator, his mind full of thoughts he could not organize. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He lay in his expensive apartment staring at the ceiling. He kept thinking about the way Elena had played the piano. He kept seeing her face when she looked at him and said, "That was from another life." There was so much pain in those words. Marcus was not used to feeling guilty. He was not used to thinking about other people's feelings. He had grown up with money, and his father had taught him that money made him important. His father had always treated service workers as if they were invisible or unimportant. Marcus had learned to do the same. But tonight something was different. He kept thinking about how he had mocked Elena in front of all those people. He had tried to humiliate her for his own entertainment. And instead of crumbling or crying or running away, she had responded with dignity and grace and incredible talent. The next morning, Marcus returned to the Grandview Hotel. He told himself he had business to attend to, but really he wanted to see Elena again. He wanted to understand what had happened, why she was working as a concierge when she could play piano like that. When he entered the lobby, he saw Elena was not at the concierge desk. A different person was working there, a young man with glasses who smiled politely at Marcus as he walked by. Marcus checked his watch. It was 10 in the morning. Elena worked the evening shift, so she probably would not be there until later. Marcus felt foolish. He had rushed to the hotel without thinking about what time Elena would be working. He stood in the lobby, unsure what to do next. Then he noticed the hotel manager, Mr. Chen, walking through the lobby checking on things. Mr. Chen was a neat, organized man in his 50s who ran the Grandview Hotel with precision and care. He spotted Marcus and immediately came over with a professional smile. "Mr. Wellington, good morning. I hope everything was satisfactory during your last visit?" Mr. Chen asked. "Actually, I wanted to ask you about one of your employees, Helena Rodriguez, the evening concierge," Marcus said. Mr. Chen's expression became slightly protective. "Is there a problem?" "Elena is one of our best employees. If she has done something to upset you, I assure you we will address it immediately." No problem," Marcus said quickly. "Actually, quite the opposite. I was impressed by her and wanted to know more about her background." Mr. Chen relaxed a little. "Elena has been with us for 18 months. She is professional, punctual, and the guests love her. She never complains and always volunteers to work extra shifts if we need help. She is exactly the kind of employee every hotel hopes to find." "What do you know about her past? Before she came here?" Marcus asked. Mr. Chen looked uncomfortable with the question. "I do not discuss personal details about our employees, Mr. Wellington. If you have questions about Elena, you should ask her yourself. She comes in at 4 o'clock this afternoon." Marcus thanked Mr. Chen and left the hotel. He spent the day trying to work, but he could not concentrate. He kept checking the time, waiting for 4 o'clock to arrive. When Marcus returned to the hotel at 4:30 that afternoon, Elena was behind the concierge desk helping an older couple plan their dinner reservations. Marcus stood back and watched her work. She was patient and kind, listening carefully to what the couple wanted and making suggestions based on their preferences. When they finally decided on a restaurant, Elena made the reservation and even offered to arrange their transportation. After the couple walked away happy, Elena noticed Marcus standing there. Her expression became guarded, professional but cool. "Good afternoon, Mr. Wellington. How may I help you today?" she asked in that same polite voice. Marcus walked up to the desk. He had thought about what he wanted to say all day, but now that he was here, the words felt difficult. "I wanted to apologize for yesterday. What I did was wrong. It was cruel and disrespectful, and you did not deserve that treatment." Elena looked surprised. She had clearly expected many things from Marcus, but an apology was not one of them. "Thank you for saying that, Mr. Wellington. I appreciate it." "Please call me Marcus," he said. "That would not be appropriate." "You are a guest and I am an employee," Elena replied. "Still, I want you to know I am truly sorry, and I want to understand. You play like someone who has studied for years, like a professional." "Why are you working here?" Marcus asked. Elena's expression became sad. "Because life does not always go according to our plans, Mr. Wellington. Because sometimes we have to choose between what we want and what we need to do." "What happened?" "Please, I really want to know," Marcus said. And for once there was no arrogance in his voice, only genuine curiosity. Elena looked at him for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether to trust him. Finally, she spoke quietly. "I studied piano at a conservatory in my home country. For 12 years, that was my whole life. I practiced 6 to 8 hours every day. My teachers said I had talent, that I could have a future as a concert pianist." "So what happened?" Marcus asked gently. "My father became very sick. The medical bills were too high for my family to pay. My mother worked 2 jobs, but it was not enough. I had a scholarship for my studies, but that did not help my family with their bills. I had to make a choice," Elena explained, her voice becoming even quieter. "You chose your family over your dreams," Marcus said. "Of course I did. They are my family. They sacrificed everything to support my dream. When they needed me, how could I not help them?" Elena said, as if the answer was obvious. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had never sacrificed anything for anyone. When his father died and left him millions, Marcus had not shared the money with any relatives who might have needed it. He had not thought about anyone but himself. "Do you regret it?" Marcus asked. Elena thought about the question carefully before answering. "I regret that I had to make that choice. I regret that my father is sick and my family struggles with money. But I do not regret helping them. If I had to choose again, I would make the same decision." A guest approached the desk with a question about tourist attractions, and Elena immediately turned her attention to helping them. Marcus stepped back and watched her work. He saw her help a crying child find his mother. He saw her stay late to help an elderly guest who had lost his room key. He saw her calm down an angry businessman who was upset about a mistake with his reservation. In every situation, Elena remained patient and kind. Marcus started asking other hotel employees about Elena. The bellboy told him that Elena always remembered to ask about his college classes. The housekeeping manager said Elena never looked down on the cleaning staff like some employees did. The restaurant manager mentioned that Elena often recommended his restaurant to guests, even though she got no benefit from doing so. One afternoon, a hotel employee named Maria was talking to a coworker near where Marcus was sitting. Maria did not know Marcus was listening. "Elena is so generous," Maria said to her friend. "She sends most of her paycheck home to her family every month. She lives in a tiny apartment and barely spends money on herself. Last week she gave me her lunch because I forgot mine at home." "She is too nice," the friend replied. "She should think about herself more." "That is just who she is," Maria said. "I heard she volunteers at a community center on her days off, teaching piano to children who cannot afford lessons. She does not even charge them money." Marcus sat there stunned. Here was a woman who had given up her dreams to help her family, who worked hard at a job that probably did not pay very well, who sent most of her money home, and who still found time to volunteer teaching music to poor children. And he had mocked her in front of a crowd of people for fun. The guilt Marcus felt grew stronger every day. He was not used to feeling this way. He had always believed that his money made him important, that his wealth meant he was better than people who worked in service jobs. But Elena had shown him something different. She had shown him that dignity and worth had nothing to do with bank accounts or job titles. One evening, almost a week after the piano incident, Marcus approached Elena's desk again. She looked tired, and he noticed she was wearing the same shoes he had seen her wear every day. They were practical black shoes, clean and polished, but clearly old and worn. "Elena," Marcus said, forgetting to use her last name. "I have been thinking a lot about what happened, about what I did and what you told me." Elena looked up at him with those calm brown eyes. "Yes, Mr. Wellington. You gave up your dream for your family. That is something I could never do." "I have never put anyone before myself," Marcus admitted. "Everyone makes their own choices, Mr. Wellington." I do not judge you for the choices you have made, Elena said kindly. Maybe you should, Marcus said quietly. Maybe someone should have judged me a long time ago. Maybe then I would not have become the kind of person who thinks it is fun to humiliate people. Elena's expression softened slightly. You apologized. Not many people in your position would have done that. That shows you can change if you want to. I do want to change. You made me see that I have been living my life all wrong. You have so little compared to me, but you are rich in ways I never understood before, Marcus said. I am not rich. Mr. Wellington, I struggle to pay my bills every month, Elena said with a small smile. That is not what I mean. You are rich in character, in kindness, in purpose. You make a difference in people's lives every day, even in small ways. What do? I just take up space and spend money I did not even earn, Marcus said. Before Elena could respond, her phone rang and she had to help another guest. Marcus walked away, but his mind was racing with thoughts and ideas. That night, Marcus sat in his apartment thinking about what he could do. He wanted to help Elena somehow to make up for his terrible behavior. But how? He thought about offering her money, but he knew she would refuse. She had too much pride to accept charity, especially from him. Then Marcus remembered something Elena had said. She sent money home to her family for her father's medical bills. He thought about the community center where she volunteered. He thought about her old worn shoes and her tiny apartment and how she gave away her lunch to help a coworker. Marcus spent the next 2 days making phone calls and doing research. He used his connections and his money, but for the first time in his life he used them to help someone else instead of just himself. On Friday evening, Marcus returned to the hotel with a plan. He waited until Elena had a quiet moment at her desk, then approached her with a serious expression. Elena, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me, Marcus said. What is it, Mr. Wellington? Elena asked. If money was not a problem, if your family was taken care of, what would you do with your life? Marcus asked. Elena looked confused by the question. I do not understand. Why are you asking me this? Just answer the question, please. What would you do? Marcus pressed. Elena thought for a moment, then answered honestly. I would go back to studying music. I would practice every day. Maybe I would try to compete in piano competitions or give concerts or teach music at a real school, instead of just volunteering. But that is just a dream, Mr. Wellington. It is not realistic for someone in my situation. What if I told you I could make it realistic? Marcus asked. Elena's expression became guarded. I would say thank you, but no thank you. I do not accept charity, especially not from you. It is not charity. Think of it as an investment. You have talent that the world should hear. I have resources that I have been wasting on useless things. Why not use those resources to help bring your talent to the world? Marcus explained. Mr. Wellington, I appreciate what you are trying to do, but I cannot accept money from you. It would not be right, Elena said firmly. Then do not accept it for yourself. Accept it for all the children you teach at the community center. Accept it for your family who sacrificed for your dreams. Accept it for everyone who could benefit from hearing you play, Marcus argued. Elena shook her head. You do not understand. I have responsibilities. My family needs my help every month. I cannot just abandon my job to chase an old dream. What if your family did not need your help anymore? What if their bills were taken care of? Marcus asked. Elena's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Marcus took a deep breath. I have spent the last 2 days using my money and my connections to do something useful for once. I contacted a hospital in your home country and arranged for your father to receive treatment from better doctors. The bills will be covered. I also set up a fund to help your mother with living expenses so she does not have to work 2 jobs anymore. Elena stared at him in shock. You did what? Why would you do that? Because you taught me something important. You taught me that dignity has nothing to do with money. You taught me that real wealth is about character and kindness and sacrifice. You made me ashamed of who I have become, and you made me want to be better, Marcus said honestly. Tears started forming in Elena's eyes. Mr. Wellington, I do not know what to say. That is too much. I cannot let you do this. It is already done. The arrangements are made. Your father will get the treatment he needs, and your mother will not have to struggle anymore. Now you need to make a choice, Elena. What are you going to do with this second chance? Marcus said gently. Elena stood behind the concierge desk with tears streaming down her face. She did not try to wipe them away. Other hotel guests passing through the lobby glanced at her with concern, but Elena did not notice them. All she could think about was what Marcus had just told her. Her father would get proper medical treatment. Her mother would not have to work herself to exhaustion anymore. The crushing weight of responsibility that Elena had been carrying for over a year was suddenly lifted from her shoulders. But instead of feeling relieved, she felt confused and overwhelmed. "Why?" Elena whispered, looking at Marcus with tears in her eyes. "Why would you do this for me? You do not even know me. A week ago you were mocking me in front of everyone." Marcus looked uncomfortable, something Elena had never seen before. The confident, arrogant man who had walked into the hotel making cruel jokes now looked uncertain and almost shy. "Because I owe you an apology that words alone cannot express. Because you showed me what kind of person I had become and I did not like what I saw. Because when I watched you play that piano, I saw someone with real talent, real passion, and I realized I had never had passion for anything in my life except spending money," Marcus explained. "But this is too much. You have given my family so much. I cannot accept this without giving you something in return," Elena said. "You already gave me something. You gave me a wake-up call. You showed me that there are people in this world who sacrifice their own dreams for others, who work hard without complaining, who treat everyone with kindness even when they are treated badly. That lesson was worth more than any money I spent," Marcus replied. Elena wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I need time to think about this. I need to call my family and make sure what you are saying is true. This is all too sudden, too big, of course. Take all the time you need. But Elena, please do not waste this opportunity. Your talent deserves to be shared with the world," Marcus said sincerely. He turned to walk away, but Elena called out to him. "Mr. Wellington, wait." Marcus stopped and looked back at her. "Thank you," Elena said simply. "Even if I do not understand why you did this, even if it feels too big to accept, thank you for caring about my family. Thank you for trying to help." Marcus nodded and walked toward the elevator. As he disappeared from view, Elena sank down into the chair behind the desk. Her mind was spinning with thoughts and emotions. Could this really be true? Could her family's struggles really be over? And if they were, what did that mean for her? That night, after her shift ended, Elena called her mother. It was early morning in her home country, and her mother answered the phone sounding worried because Elena rarely called during work weeks. "Mama, is everything okay? Is Papa all right?" Elena asked quickly. Yes, we are fine. But Elena, something strange has happened. A man from a hospital called yesterday. He said someone has arranged for your father to see a specialist, a very expensive doctor. He said all the costs are covered. Do you know anything about this?" Her mother asked, confusion clear in her voice. Elena felt her eyes fill with tears again. So it was real? Marcus had actually done what he said. "Yes, Mama, I know about it. Someone here is helping us. A wealthy man who wants to help Papa get better. But who? Why would a stranger help us? What does he want in return?" Her mother asked suspiciously. "He does not want anything, Mama. He is trying to make up for something bad he did. He wants to help." Elena tried to explain, though she barely understood it herself. Her mother was quiet for a moment. "Elena, this is too much. We cannot accept such charity from a stranger. Mama, please. Let Papa see this doctor. Let him get the treatment he needs. You have both sacrificed so much for me. Let someone help you for once," Elena pleaded. After a long silence, her mother spoke again, her voice thick with emotion. "Your father has been so sick, Elena. The medicine he has been taking barely helps. If this doctor can really make him better, then let him try, Mama. Please," Elena said. "Okay, we will see this doctor. But Elena, you must be careful with this wealthy man. Rich people often want something in return, even when they say they do not," her mother warned. After Elena hung up, she sat in her tiny apartment staring at the wall. Her mother's warning echoed in her mind. What did Marcus really want? Was he expecting something from her? The thought made her uncomfortable. Over the next few days, Elena tried to return to her normal routine at the hotel. She helped guests, made reservations, and solved problems just like always. But everything felt different now. She felt like she was standing at a crossroads and she did not know which path to take. Marcus did not come to the hotel for several days. Elena found herself watching the lobby entrance, wondering if he would appear. Part of her wanted to see him so she could ask more questions. Another part of her was relieved when he did not show up. On Wednesday afternoon, Elena received a phone call from her mother again. This time, her mother was crying with happiness. "Elena, the doctor examined your father. He says there is a treatment that can help. It is expensive, but this mysterious benefactor has already arranged everything. Your father starts the treatment next week, her mother said through her tears. That is wonderful, Mama. I am so happy, Elena said, crying too. But there is more, Elena. Another man called. He said he was from some kind of charity fund. He said they will send money every month to help with our living expenses. I asked him who set this up, and he would not tell me. But I know it must be your wealthy friend, her mother said. He is not my friend, Mama. He is just someone who is trying to help, Elena corrected. Well, friend or not, he has given us a miracle. You must thank him properly for us, her mother insisted. After the call, Elena knew she needed to talk to Marcus. She needed to understand what he expected from her, if anything. She needed to know what strings were attached to this generous gift. That evening, Marcus finally returned to the hotel. He walked through the lobby and approached the concierge desk where Elena was working. She looked up at him with a complicated expression. Mr. Wellington, may I speak with you privately for a moment? Elena asked. Of course, Marcus replied. Elena asked another staff member to cover the desk for a few minutes, then led Marcus to a quiet corner of the lobby where they could talk without being overheard. I spoke to my mother. My father is going to receive treatment. She told me about the fund you set up for their living expenses too, Elena said. I am glad the arrangements are working out, Marcus said simply. But I do not understand. This is so much money, so much help. What do you want from me in return? Elena asked directly. Marcus looked surprised by the question. I do not want anything from you, Elena. I already told you that. Rich people always want something. Nobody gives away money like this without expecting something back, Elena said, echoing her mother's warning. Marcus sighed. You are right that most wealthy people think that way. I used to think that way too. Everything was a transaction, a deal where I had to come out on top. But you changed my thinking. How did I change your thinking? By playing a piano? Elena asked. It was not just the piano. It was everything about you. The way you handled my cruelty with dignity, the way you work hard without complaining, the way you help everyone around you even though you barely have enough for yourself. You showed me what it means to be a good person, and I realized I had never tried to be one, Marcus explained. Elena studied his face, trying to determine if he was being honest. So you are doing this because you feel guilty? Yes, partly. But also because I finally have a chance to use my money for something meaningful. All my life, I have wasted money on expensive cars, fancy restaurants, designer clothes. None of it made me happy. But helping your family, knowing that your father will get treatment and your mother can stop working 2 jobs, that makes me feel something I have not felt before, Marcus said. What do you feel? Elena asked curiously. I feel useful. I feel like maybe my existence has a purpose beyond just taking up space and spending money, Marcus answered honestly. Elena was quiet for a moment, processing his words. You really do not expect anything from me? I expect nothing, but I hope for something, Marcus admitted. What do you hope for? Elena asked. I hope you will use this opportunity to return to music. I hope you will practice and study and compete. I hope the world will get to hear you play. That is what I hope for, but it is your choice to make, Marcus said. Elena felt tears forming in her eyes again. I have not played seriously in over a year. I do not know if I am still good enough. I do not know if I can compete with people who never stopped practicing. There is only one way to find out. You have to try, Marcus encouraged. But what about my job? What about my responsibilities? Elena asked. What responsibilities? Your family is taken care of. Your job can be filled by someone else. The only responsibility you have now is to yourself and your talent, Marcus pointed out. Elena shook her head. It is not that simple. I have been the responsible one for so long, I do not know how to just think about myself. Then learn. Elena, how many people get a second chance at their dreams? How many people who gave up what they loved get an opportunity to try again? Do not waste this gift, Marcus urged. Elena looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and fear. I am scared, Mr. Wellington. What if I fail? What if I am not good enough anymore? Then at least you will know you tried. But I do not think you will fail. I heard you play, remember? That was not luck or chance. That was years of training and natural talent. You have what it takes, Marcus said with confidence. Over the next week, Elena struggled with her decision. She talked to her family, who encouraged her to pursue music again. She talked to her coworkers, who told her she would be crazy not to take this opportunity. She even talked to Mr. Chen, the hotel manager, who said her job would be there if she ever needed to come back. But he hoped she would chase her dream. Finally, Elena made her decision. She gave her 2-week notice at the hotel. She contacted her old teachers from the conservatory and asked if they could recommend someone to help her get back into performance shape. She started practicing on the hotel piano every morning before her shift. With permission from Mr. Chen, Marcus came to watch her practice sometimes. He would sit in the lobby with a cup of coffee, listening to Elena play scales and exercises in full pieces. He never interrupted or offered opinions. He just listened. One morning, as Elena finished practicing a difficult Rachmaninoff piece, Marcus approached the piano. "You are getting better every day. Your fingers are remembering what they used to know," he observed. "It is coming back slowly, but I am rusty." "There is so much work to do," Elena said, flexing her fingers. "I have been doing some research. There is a piano competition coming up in 3 months, the International Chopin Competition for Young Pianists. It is very prestigious. Winners often get contracts for concerts and recordings," Marcus said. Elena looked skeptical. "That competition is for the best young pianists in the world. I am not ready for that level. You have 3 months to get ready. I have contacted a piano teacher, one of the best in this city. She has agreed to work with you. I will cover the cost of the lessons," Marcus offered. "Mr. Wellington, you have already done so much. I cannot ask you to pay for expensive private lessons too," Elena protested. "You are not asking. I am offering. Elena, I am rich. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use some of it to help launch your career," Marcus insisted. Elena wanted to refuse, but the temptation was too strong. The chance to study with a real teacher again, to prepare for a major competition, to possibly restart her career. It was everything she had dreamed about during those long nights when she first gave up music. "Okay," Elena finally agreed. "But I am keeping track of all the money you spend on me. Someday when I can afford it, I will pay you back." Marcus smiled. "If it makes you feel better to think that, then fine. But I'm not expecting repayment." The piano teacher Marcus found was named Professor Margaret Hayes. She was a stern woman in her 60s who had trained several famous concert pianists. Elena was nervous for her first lesson, worried that the professor would think she was not good enough. But Professor Hayes listened to Elena play and then nodded with approval. "You have excellent technique and good musical instincts, but you have been away from serious study for too long. We have a lot of work to do if you want to compete in 3 months." "I will work hard, Professor. I promise," Elena said eagerly. "I know you will. Marcus told me about your background, about why you stopped studying. That kind of sacrifice shows character. Now you need to show that same dedication to your music," Professor Hayes said. For the next 3 months, Elena's life became consumed with piano. She practiced 6 to 8 hours a day, just like she had done at the conservatory. Her fingers hurt, her back ached, and sometimes she cried from frustration when she could not play something perfectly. But she kept going. Professor Hayes was a demanding teacher. She made Elena repeat passages over and over until they were perfect. She criticized every small mistake and praised every improvement. Under her guidance, Elena began to feel like a real pianist again. Marcus continued to visit and listen to her practice. He also started helping in other ways. He bought Elena a proper piano for her apartment so she could practice at home. He made sure she had everything she needed: good food, comfortable practice clothes, even a massage therapist to help with the muscle tension from long hours at the piano. "You are spoiling me," Elena told him one day after he surprised her with a new lamp for her practice space that provided better lighting. "I am investing in you," Marcus corrected. "There is a difference." As the weeks passed, something else started to develop between Elena and Marcus. Their relationship slowly changed from benefactor and recipient into something closer to friendship. They started having coffee together after Elena's practice sessions. They talked about music, about life, about their different backgrounds. Elena learned that Marcus's childhood had not been as perfect as she assumed. His father had been cold and demanding, caring more about business than family. His mother had died when Marcus was young. He had been raised by nannies and sent to expensive boarding schools where he learned to build walls around his emotions. "I think that is why I became so arrogant," Marcus admitted one day. "If I acted like I was better than everyone, then I did not have to let anyone close enough to hurt me." That sounds lonely, Elena said softly. It was. It still is most of the time, Marcus agreed. Elena began to see Marcus differently. He was not just a wealthy, arrogant man anymore. He was someone who was trying to change, trying to be better. She saw the effort he put into being kinder to service workers. She noticed how he started volunteering his time as well as his money, joining her at the community center where she used to teach music. The children at the community center loved Marcus. He helped them with their homework, played games with them, and listened to their dreams. Elena watched him interact with a young boy who wanted to be a scientist, spending an hour answering the boy's questions about space and encouraging his curiosity. "You are good with children," Elena observed. "They do not care about my money. They just see me as someone who pays attention to them." "It is refreshing," Marcus said. As the competition date approached, Elena grew more nervous. She practiced even more, barely sleeping. Marcus worried about her pushing herself too hard. "You need to rest, Elena. You will make yourself sick," he warned. "I cannot rest. This is my second chance." "I cannot waste it," Elena insisted. "You will not waste it. You are ready. Professor Hayes says you are ready. But you need to take care of yourself too," Marcus urged. The night before Elena was supposed to leave for the competition, she had a breakdown. She called Marcus crying, saying she could not do it, that she was not good enough, that she would embarrass herself and waste all the money he had invested in her. Marcus came to her apartment immediately. He found her sitting at her piano, surrounded by sheet music, tears streaming down her face. "I cannot do this. What was I thinking? I am just a hotel concierge who used to play piano. I do not belong in a competition with real pianists," Elena sobbed. Marcus sat down next to her on the piano bench. "Elena, look at me." She turned to face him with red, swollen eyes. "You are not just a hotel concierge. You are a pianist who temporarily worked at a hotel to help your family. There is a difference. You have trained for this your whole life. You gave up your dream once for people you love. Do not give it up again because you are scared," Marcus said firmly but kindly. "What if I fail?" Elena whispered. "Then you fail. But at least you tried. At least you did not spend the rest of your life wondering what might have been. Elena, I have watched you work harder than anyone I have ever known. You deserve this chance. Now you need to believe that yourself," Marcus said. He took her hands in his. "You can do this. I believe in you. Your family believes in you. Professor Hayes believes in you. Now you need to believe in yourself." Elena took a shaky breath and nodded. Okay, I will try." "That's all anyone can ask," Marcus said with a smile. The airplane touched down in Vienna on a cold October morning. Elena looked out the window at the gray sky and felt her stomach twist with nervousness. The International Chopin Competition was one of the most respected piano competitions in the world. Hundreds of talented pianists from dozens of countries had applied. Only 40 had been selected to compete. Marcus had insisted on coming with her. For moral support, he said. Elena had argued that he did not need to waste his time traveling to Europe for a competition, but Marcus would not take no for an answer. "I have never done anything meaningful with my time before. Let me do this," he had said. So now they were both in Vienna, checking into a hotel near the concert hall where the competition would take place. Their hotel was nice but not fancy. Marcus had wanted to book the most expensive suite in the best hotel, but Elena had refused. "I need to stay focused on the music, not on luxury," she had told him. The competition would last 5 days. Each pianist would perform in the preliminary round, playing one required piece and one piece of their own choice. Only 20 pianists would advance to the semi-final round. From there, only 10 would make it to the finals. The winner would receive prize money, concert opportunities, and a recording contract. Elena had 2 days before her preliminary performance to practice and adjust to the time change. Marcus made sure she had everything she needed. He found a practice room for her at a local music school. He bought her healthy food and made sure she was eating properly. He listened to her practice and offered encouragement. On the first day of the competition, Elena went to the concert hall to hear some of the other competitors. She sat in the audience with Marcus, listening to a young man from Poland play Chopin's Ballade No. 1. He was brilliant, his fingers flying across the keys with incredible speed and precision. Elena felt her confidence sink. "Did you hear him? He was amazing. How can I compete with that?" she whispered to Marcus. You have your own style, your own interpretation. You do not need to play exactly like him. You just need to play like yourself, Marcus whispered back. They listened to 5 more pianists that day. Some were technically perfect but lacked emotion. Others had passion but made small mistakes. Elena tried to learn from watching them, tried to see what worked and what did not. That evening, back at their hotel, Elena was too nervous to eat dinner. She sat in her room, staring at her sheet music but not really seeing it. Marcus knocked on her door. "You need to eat something," he said, holding a tray with soup and bread. "I am not hungry," Elena replied. "Eat anyway." "You need strength for tomorrow," Marcus insisted. Elena took the tray and forced herself to eat a little. Marcus sat in a chair by the window, not talking, just keeping her company. His presence was comforting even in silence. "Marcus," Elena said after a while, "thank you. For everything. For believing in me when I did not believe in myself. For giving me this chance. You do not need to thank me. Watching you work toward this has been the most meaningful thing I have ever been part of," Marcus said honestly. The next morning, Elena woke up at 6. Her performance was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. She had 7 hours to warm up, practice, and try not to panic. She went to the practice room and played scales, exercises, and ran through her pieces several times. Marcus brought her lunch, but Elena could barely eat. Her stomach was in knots. At 1 o'clock, they left for the concert hall. Elena wore a simple but elegant black dress that Marcus had helped her choose. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and she wore just a touch of makeup. Backstage, Elena waited with the other competitors. Some of them looked calm and confident. Others looked as nervous as she felt. A young woman from Japan smiled at Elena. "First time competing?" she asked kindly. "Yes, is it that obvious?" Elena replied with a weak smile. "You will do fine. Just remember why you love playing. The judges want to see passion, not just perfection," the young woman advised. When Elena's name was called, her legs felt like rubber. She walked onto the stage and saw the large audience waiting in the concert hall. The stage lights were bright, making it hard to see faces clearly. But Elena knew Marcus was out there somewhere, supporting her. She sat at the grand piano, a beautiful Steinway that gleamed under the lights. She adjusted the bench, took a deep breath, and placed her hands on the keys. For a moment, she sat still, remembering Professor Hayes's advice. Before you play, take a moment to connect with the music. Let the audience wait. Make them want to hear what you have to say. Then Elena began to play. The required piece was Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor. Her fingers found the notes automatically, muscle memory taking over. As she played, something magical happened. The nervousness melted away. The audience disappeared. It was just Elena and the music, just like when she practiced alone. She played with emotion and sensitivity, bringing out the sadness and beauty in Chopin's melodies. When she finished the Nocturne, there was a moment of silence before the audience applauded politely. That was normal for preliminary rounds. The judges saved their real reactions for the final rounds. For her second piece, Elena had chosen Chopin's Ballade No. 4, one of the most difficult and beautiful pieces in the piano repertoire. It was a risk because the piece was so challenging. Many competitors chose safer options, but Elena wanted to show what she could really do. The ballade started quietly, almost mysteriously. Elena played the opening with gentle restraint, drawing the audience in. As the piece developed, it grew more dramatic and passionate. There were sections of incredible technical difficulty, with both hands playing complex patterns at high speed. Elena's fingers flew across the keys, hitting every note cleanly. But technique was not the only thing Elena brought to the performance. She played with deep emotion, making the piano sing and cry and shout. She swayed with the music, her whole body involved in creating the sound. She took risks with the tempo, slowing down in some places to emphasize beauty, speeding up in others to create excitement. When Elena played the final chord and lifted her hands from the keys, there was a longer silence than before. Then the audience burst into applause. It was not just polite clapping. People were genuinely moved by what they had heard. In the audience, Marcus stood up and applauded loudly, not caring if it was proper etiquette or not. Backstage, Elena's hands were shaking from adrenaline. Several other competitors came up to congratulate her. "That was beautiful," said a young man from Germany. "You really felt the music," said an older woman from France. Marcus was waiting for her when she came out of the backstage area. He had a huge smile on his face. Elena, that was incredible. You were amazing. Elena felt tears of relief running down her face. Did I do okay? I made a small mistake in the middle section. Nobody noticed because they were too busy being blown away by your playing, Marcus assured her. That evening, the competition organizers posted the list of 20 pianists who would advance to the semifinal round. Elena and Marcus stood with a crowd of other competitors and their supporters, waiting to see the list. When Elena saw her name on it, she gasped. I made it. I actually made it to the semifinals, she said in disbelief. Of course you did. I never doubted it, Marcus said, giving her a hug. Elena had 2 days before the semifinal round. She used that time to practice her semifinal pieces and to rest her body, which was exhausted from the stress and effort of performing. Marcus took her for walks around Vienna, showing her the beautiful old buildings and trying to keep her mind off the competition for a little while. The semi-final round was even more stressful than the preliminaries. The pieces were longer and more difficult. Elena had to perform for 40 minutes without stopping. She chose a program that included a Chopin scherzo, a nocturne, and a polonaise. On the day of her semi-final performance, Elena felt more confident than she had for the preliminaries. She had proven to herself that she belonged in this competition. She was not just a hotel concierge pretending to be a pianist. She was a real competitor with real talent. Her semi-final performance went well. She played with confidence and passion, and the audience responded with strong applause. But some of the other competitors were also brilliant. A young woman from South Korea gave a stunning performance that left the audience breathless. A man from Russia played with such power and emotion that people were crying in their seats. When the 10 finalists were announced the next day, Elena was relieved to see her name on the list again. But she also knew that the competition was getting harder. The 10 finalists were all exceptional pianists. Any one of them could win. The final round would be the most challenging yet. Each finalist had to perform with an orchestra, playing a full piano concerto. Elena had chosen Chopin's Piano Concerto No. 2 in F minor, a piece she had studied at the conservatory, but never performed publicly. She had 4 days to prepare. She practiced with the orchestra twice, learning to coordinate with the conductor and the other musicians. It was different from playing solo. She had to listen carefully and adjust her playing to match the orchestra's sound. Marcus noticed that Elena seemed calmer before the finals than she had been before the earlier rounds. You are not as nervous this time, he observed. I think I have already won in a way, Elena explained. I came here not knowing if I was good enough. Now I know that I am. I made it to the finals of an international competition. Even if I do not win, I have proven something to myself. That is a healthy way to look at it. But I still think you can win, Marcus said with a smile. On the night of the final round, the concert hall was completely full. People had come from all over Europe to watch the conclusion of the competition. Elena peeked out from backstage and saw hundreds of faces in the audience. She also saw Marcus sitting in the 3rd row, exactly where he said he would be. Elena was the 7th pianist to perform out of 10. She waited backstage, listening to the other performances on a monitor. The standard was incredibly high. Each pianist brought something unique to their performance. The young Korean woman played with flawless technique. The Russian man played with raw emotional power. When it was Elena's turn, she walked onto the stage to applause. She wore a deep blue evening gown that Marcus had insisted on buying for her. She had argued that it was too expensive, but he had said, "This is your moment to shine. Let yourself look the part." Elena bowed to the audience, then sat at the piano. The orchestra was arranged behind and around her, dozens of musicians ready to play. The conductor smiled at Elena and raised his baton. The orchestra began the opening section of the concerto, introducing the main themes. Then Elena's entrance came. Her fingers touched the keys and she began to play. The piano and orchestra blended together, creating a rich tapestry of sound. Elena played with perfect technique and deep emotion. She seemed to become one with the music, her body swaying, her face showing every feeling the music expressed. The concerto had moments of tender beauty and moments of dramatic passion. There were sections where Elena played alone while the orchestra was silent, and other sections where the piano and orchestra had conversations, with musical phrases passing back and forth between them. In the audience, Marcus watched Elena with pride and admiration. This was the same woman he had mocked 4 months ago, calling her just a concierge, betting she could not play a single note properly. Now she was on stage at an international competition, performing with an orchestra, showing the world her incredible talent. As Elena played the final movement of the concerto, building to the dramatic conclusion, the entire audience seemed to hold their breath. The music grew faster and louder, piano and orchestra racing together toward the ending. Elena's fingers flew across the keys with lightning speed, hitting every note perfectly. Then came the final chord. Elena and the orchestra played it together, loud and triumphant. The sound filled the concert hall and seemed to hang in the air for a moment before fading to silence. The silence lasted only a second before the audience exploded with applause. People jumped to their feet, giving Elena a standing ovation. Some audience members were crying. Others were shouting, "Brava!" The applause went on and on. Elena stood and bowed, tears streaming down her face. The conductor shook her hand warmly. The orchestra musicians tapped their music stands with their bows, their way of showing appreciation. Elena bowed again and again as the applause continued. Backstage, Elena collapsed into a chair, emotionally exhausted. She had given everything she had in that performance. She had no idea if it would be enough to win, but she knew she had played her best. The other 3 finalists performed after Elena. Each of them was excellent. When all 10 finalists had performed, there was a long break while the judges deliberated. Elena and the other competitors waited anxiously backstage. Some paced back and forth. Others sat quietly. A few whispered to each other nervously. Marcus was allowed to come backstage during the break. He found Elena sitting alone, staring at the floor. "Hey," he said softly, sitting down next to her. "You were magnificent." "Thank you," Elena said quietly. "But I do not know if it was enough." "It does not matter if you win or not. What matters is that you did this. 4 months ago, you were working at a hotel, your dreams packed away in a corner of your heart. Now you just performed with an orchestra at an international competition. You have already won, Elena," Marcus said. Elena looked at him with gratitude. "How did you become so wise? 4 months ago, you were an arrogant man who thought money was everything." "I had a good teacher," Marcus said with a smile, taking her hand. After an hour, all the finalists were called back to the stage. The judges had made their decisions. The concert hall was full again, everyone wanting to see who would win. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. The head judge took the microphone. "First, I want to congratulate all 10 finalists. You have shown incredible talent and dedication. Any one of you could have won this competition." He announced the 3rd-place winner first. It was the young man from Germany who had congratulated Elena after her preliminary performance. He walked to the front of the stage, beaming with pride, and accepted his certificate and prize. Then the judge announced 2nd place. It was the young woman from South Korea, the one with the flawless technique. She smiled graciously and accepted her award, though Elena could see she was disappointed not to have won 1st place. And now, the winner of this year's International Chopin competition is... The judge paused for dramatic effect. Elena's heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Elena Rodriguez from the Grandview Hotel. For a moment, Elena could not move. She thought she must have heard wrong. But then the audience burst into applause and the other competitors were turning to congratulate her. And she realized it was true. She had won. Marcus was on his feet in the audience, applauding louder than anyone. Tears were running down his face, though he did not seem to notice or care. Elena walked to the front of the stage in a daze. The head judge handed her a trophy, a certificate, and an envelope containing her prize money. Photographers took pictures while the audience continued to applaud. Elena held the trophy in her shaking hands and looked out at the sea of faces, trying to find Marcus. When she spotted him in the 3rd row, still clapping with tears on his cheeks, she felt her own tears start to flow. The judge asked Elena to say a few words. She took the microphone, her voice trembling. "Thank you so much to the judges, to the competition organizers, and to everyone here tonight. A year ago, I had given up on this dream. I thought my time as a pianist was over. But someone believed in me when I did not believe in myself. Someone gave me a second chance. This award belongs to him as much as it belongs to me." She looked directly at Marcus when she said those words. He understood that she was talking about him, and he felt his heart swell with emotion. After the ceremony, reporters wanted to interview Elena. They asked about her background, her training, and how it felt to win. Elena told them about studying at the conservatory, about having to leave to help her family, about working at the Grandview Hotel. The reporters loved the story. It was exactly the kind of inspiring tale that people wanted to hear. One reporter asked, "You mentioned someone who believed in you and gave you a second chance. Who was that person?" Elena glanced at Marcus, who was standing off to the side. "A friend," she said simply. "A very good friend who taught me that it is never too late to chase your dreams." That night, Elena and Marcus had dinner at a small restaurant near their hotel. Elena was exhausted but happy. She kept looking at the trophy sitting on the table, touching it to make sure it was real. "I still cannot believe this happened," Elena said, shaking her head. 4 months ago, I was helping guests book restaurant reservations. Now I have won an international piano competition. You earned it. Every hour of practice, every sacrifice you made, it all led to this moment," Marcus said. "I could not have done it without you," Elena said seriously. "You gave me the opportunity, the support, the encouragement. You changed my life, Marcus." Marcus looked uncomfortable with the praise. "You changed my life too, Elena. Before I met you, I was just drifting through life, spending money but not really living. You showed me what it means to have purpose, to care about something beyond myself." They ate their meal slowly, talking about everything and nothing. For the first time since they had met, there was no pressure, no competition to prepare for, no goals to chase. They could just enjoy each other's company. As they walked back to their hotel through the quiet Vienna streets, Marcus said, "What will you do now? The competition is over, but your career is just beginning. The prize includes opportunities to perform concerts in several cities. There are also offers from recording companies who want me to make an album. It is overwhelming. I do not know where to start," Elena admitted. "You will figure it out, and I will help however I can," Marcus offered. Elena stopped walking and turned to face him. "Marcus, you have already helped so much. You have spent so much money on me, on my family, on my training. I cannot ask you to keep doing this. You are not asking. I am offering. Elena, I have more money than I know what to do with. For the first time in my life, I am using it for something meaningful. Please do not take that away from me," Marcus said. "But it is not fair to you. You should be living your own life, not just supporting mine," Elena protested. Marcus took her hands in his. "Being part of your journey has been the best thing that ever happened to me. Watching you work toward your dreams, seeing you succeed, it has given my life meaning that it never had before." Elena looked into his eyes and saw the sincerity there. Over the past 4 months, Marcus had completely changed. The arrogant, mocking man from the hotel lobby was gone. In his place was someone kind, supportive, and genuine. "How did you change so much?" Elena asked softly. "You changed me. You showed me what a good person looks like. I wanted to be someone worthy of knowing you, so I had to become different," Marcus explained. They stood there in the quiet street, holding hands, and something unspoken passed between them. It was a feeling that had been growing for months, but neither had acknowledged. It was more than friendship, deeper than gratitude. But Elena pulled her hands away gently. "We should get back to the hotel. I am very tired." The moment passed, but both of them felt it. Both of them knew that their relationship had shifted into something new, something neither was quite ready to name yet. They returned to their home city 3 days later. Elena's victory in Vienna had made the news, and there was a small crowd of reporters waiting at the airport. They took pictures and asked questions. Elena answered politely but briefly, eager to get home and rest. Mr. Chen, the manager of the Grandview Hotel, had organized a small celebration for Elena. When she arrived at the hotel, the staff had decorated the lobby with banners that said, "Congratulations, Elena." The piano where she had played 4 months ago was surrounded by flowers. All of Elena's former co-workers were there, clapping and cheering. Maria, the employee who used to gossip about how generous Elena was, gave her a big hug. "We are so proud of you," she said. Elena was touched by the celebration. These people had worked with her when she was just a concierge, and they were genuinely happy about her success. She gave a short speech thanking them for their support and friendship. Later, as the celebration was winding down, Mr. Chen pulled Elena aside. "Your old job will always be here if you want it," he said with a smile. but I have a feeling you will not need it anymore. I will never forget my time working here. It taught me a lot about people and about myself, Elena said sincerely. Over the next few weeks, Elena's life became a whirlwind of activity. She was invited to perform concerts in major cities. Recording companies wanted her to sign contracts. Music schools asked if she would consider teaching. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of her time. Marcus helped her navigate all the offers and opportunities. He hired a lawyer to review contracts, a manager to handle bookings, and an accountant to organize her finances. He made sure Elena was not taken advantage of by people who saw her as an easy target because she was new to the professional music world. You do not have to do all this, Elena told him after he spent an entire day in meetings with lawyers on her behalf. I know I do not have to. I want to. Elena, I care about you and your future. Let me help, Marcus said. Elena realized that Marcus had become the most important person in her life. He was not just her benefactor or her friend. He was someone she trusted completely, someone she relied on, someone who made her life better just by being in it. One evening, Marcus invited Elena to dinner at a nice restaurant. She noticed he seemed nervous, which was unusual for him. They ordered their food and made small talk. But Elena could tell Marcus had something on his mind. Elena, I need to talk to you about something, Marcus finally said after they finished eating. Okay, what is it? Elena asked. These past 4 months have been the happiest of my life. Being part of your journey, watching you achieve your dreams, it has been incredible. But there is something I need to tell you, Marcus said, his voice serious. Elena felt her heart start to beat faster. What is it? I have fallen in love with you, Marcus said simply. I know the timing might not be right. You are starting your career and you have so much ahead of you, but I could not keep this to myself anymore. I love you, Elena, not because of your talent or your success, but because of who you are as a person. Elena sat in stunned silence. She had felt her own feelings for Marcus growing, but she had pushed them aside, telling herself it was just gratitude or friendship. But hearing him say those words made her realize she had been lying to herself. Marcus, she said softly, I do not know what to say. You do not have to say anything right now. I just needed you to know. I understand if you do not feel the same way. I understand if you think it is too complicated. But whatever happens, I will still support your career. That does not change, Marcus assured her. Elena looked at this man who had started as her tormentor and became her champion. She thought about all the ways he had changed, all the kindness he had shown not just to her but to everyone around him. She thought about how safe she felt when he was near, how much she valued his opinion, how much she looked forward to seeing him every day. I think I love you too, Elena said quietly. But I am scared. Scared of what? Marcus asked gently. Scared that this is all happening too fast. Scared that I am confusing gratitude with love. Scared that if we try to be together and it does not work, I will lose the best friend I have ever had, Elena admitted. Marcus nodded in understanding. Those are all reasonable fears, so let us take this slowly. Let us not rush into anything. Let us just see where this goes naturally without pressure. Elena agreed. Okay, slowly. Over the next several months, Elena and Marcus developed their relationship carefully. They went on dates, but they also maintained their friendship. They were honest with each other about their feelings and fears. They took time to really understand each other. Elena gave her first post-competition concert in her home city. Marcus was in the front row, as always. She played beautifully, and the audience gave her a standing ovation. But success had not changed Elena's character. She remained humble and kind. She started a foundation to help young musicians from poor families afford music education. She gave free concerts at schools and community centers. She never forgot where she came from or the people who had helped her along the way. Marcus continued to support Elena's career, but he also focused on his own growth. He became more involved in charity work, using his wealth to help others. He started a program to provide job training for people who needed new skills. He volunteered regularly at the community center where Elena had once taught piano. One day, about a year after the competition, Marcus accompanied Elena to the community center, where she was giving a free concert for the children. After the concert, a little girl about 7 years old came up to Elena shyly. Miss Elena, I want to play piano like you someday, the girl said. Elena knelt down to the girl's level. What is your name? Sophia, the girl answered. Sophia, do you practice every day? Elena asked. The girl nodded enthusiastically. I practice on the old keyboard my mama bought at a thrift store. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. This girl reminded her of herself at that age, full of dreams and determination despite having so little. She looked up at Marcus, who was watching the interaction with a soft expression. Sophia, how would you like to have a real piano? Elena asked. The girl's eyes went wide. A real piano? But we cannot afford that. What if someone wanted to give you one as a gift? Would you promise to practice hard and never give up on your dreams? Elena asked. I promise. I promise I will practice every day, Sophia said excitedly. Marcus already had his phone out, making arrangements to have a piano delivered to Sophia's family. He had learned from Elena that sometimes the best use of money was helping people chase their dreams. As they left the community center that evening, Elena took Marcus's hand. Thank you for doing that. You did not have to buy that girl a piano. I wanted to. Besides, I learned from the best, Marcus said, squeezing her hand. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Elena stopped and turned to face Marcus. Do you remember when you said you would marry me if I could play the piano? Marcus laughed. That was a cruel joke that I will regret for the rest of my life. I was such a terrible person back then. You were, Elena agreed with a smile. But you are not that person anymore. You have become someone kind and caring and good. I had a good teacher, Marcus said, echoing what he had told her before. Elena took a deep breath, gathering her courage. So I have been thinking about that proposal. The real one, not the mocking one. Marcus's heart started racing. What about it? I think I am ready to give you an answer, Elena said. Elena, I do not want you to feel pressured. We can take all the time you need, Marcus said quickly. I know, but I do not need more time. These past months have shown me everything I need to know. You are my best friend, my biggest supporter, and the person I want to share my life with, Elena said. Marcus felt his eyes filling with tears. Are you saying what I think you are saying? I am saying yes. If you still want to marry me, my answer is yes, Elena said, smiling through her own tears. Marcus pulled her into his arms and held her tight. I still want to marry you. I will always want to marry you. They stood there on the sidewalk holding each other, both crying happy tears. People walked past them, probably wondering what was going on, but neither Elena nor Marcus cared. 6 months later, they got married in a small ceremony at the Grandview Hotel. The venue was Elena's choice. This is where our story started, she explained. It seems right to have our wedding here. The ceremony was held in the lobby right next to the piano where Elena had played that first time. All of Elena's former co-workers were there, along with her family, Marcus's relatives, and friends from the music world. Professor Hayes attended, proud of how far her student had come. During the reception, Elena surprised everyone by sitting down at the piano and playing Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, the same piece she had played when Marcus mocked her. But this time, she played it with pure joy instead of determination. This time she was playing for the man she loved, not to prove a point. When she finished, Marcus joined her at the piano. He took the microphone and addressed their guests. Most of you know the story of how Elena and I met. I made a cruel joke saying I would marry her if she could play this piano. She played beautifully, and I was humbled and changed forever. Today I am keeping that promise, but for completely different reasons. I am marrying Elena not because of a bet, but because she is the most amazing person I have ever known. She taught me what it means to be a good human being. Everyone applauded, and Elena wiped away happy tears. She stood and joined Marcus, taking his hand. I want to say something too, Elena said into the microphone. When Marcus first made that challenge, I was angry and hurt. But looking back now, I am grateful. If he had not mocked me that night, I might never have played the piano again. I might never have gotten my second chance at my dream. And I definitely would not have gotten to know the wonderful man he truly is, underneath the arrogance he used to hide behind. So thank you, Marcus, for that cruel joke. It led to the best things that ever happened to me. The guests laughed and applauded again. Marcus and Elena kissed, and their friends and family cheered. Years later, Elena became one of the most respected pianists in the world. She performed in the greatest concert halls, recorded numerous albums, and won many awards. But she never forgot where she came from. She continued to support young musicians through her foundation, giving others the second chances she had received. Marcus found his purpose in philanthropy, He used his wealth to fund music education programs, help families with medical expenses, and support community centers. He and Elena worked together on many charitable projects, touching thousands of lives. They often told their story to young people who were struggling to chase their dreams. "Never give up," Elena would say. "Life might force you to take detours, but if you keep believing in yourself and working hard, you can find your way back to your dreams. And do not judge people by their job titles or bank accounts," Marcus would add. "The concierge who helped me with my luggage turned out to be one of the most talented musicians in the world." The most valuable people in your life might be hiding in plain sight. Sometimes when they visited the Grandview Hotel, Elena would sit at that same piano in the lobby and play. Hotel guests would stop what they were doing to listen, just like they had done years ago. But now they knew they were listening to a famous concert pianist, not just the concierge. Marcus would stand nearby, watching with pride and love. He often thought about how different his life would be if he had not made that cruel bet, if Elena had not accepted his challenge, if she had not played the piano that day. One moment of mockery had led to a complete transformation of both their lives. The piano in the lobby became famous. The hotel put a small plaque next to it that read, "On this piano, Elena Rodriguez played the performance that changed 2 lives and proved that it is never too late to chase your dreams." Elena and Marcus had 3 children who all learned to play piano. They raised their kids to value kindness over wealth, character over status, and dreams over comfort. They taught their children that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their job or social position. On their 20th wedding anniversary, Marcus and Elena returned to Vienna for a special concert. Elena was invited to perform with the same orchestra she had played with when she won the competition. As she played that same Chopin concerto, now with 20 years more experience and maturity, the music was even more beautiful than before. After the concert, as they walked through the same streets they had walked after Elena's victory, Marcus said, "If I could go back in time, I would not change anything, not even my cruel behavior that first day, because it all led us here." Elena squeezed his hand. "I would not change anything either. Every moment, good and bad, brought us to where we are now. And where we are now is exactly where I want to be." They stopped in front of a fountain and looked at each other. They were both older now, with gray starting to show in their hair. But the love between them was stronger than ever. "Thank you for playing that piano," Marcus said softly. "Thank you for giving me a reason to play it," Elena replied. They kissed under the stars in Vienna, 2 people who had found each other in the most unexpected way and built a beautiful life together. Their story became legendary in the music world, a reminder that sometimes the biggest mockery can lead to the greatest blessing, and that it is never too late to become the person you were meant to be.